I'm Marlene Street Forrest, Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. You're watching Caribbean Business Exchange. Your region, your business, your source.
The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The Business News headlines is brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. Local partnerships, a regional first in trade, and energy markets shifting amid Middle East tensions. Hello, welcome to CBX Business News for Monday, June 23, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Can you imagine we only have one Monday left in June? Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast locally, JSC and KSAMC signed a memorandum of understanding to support the adoption and maintenance of sections of Gold Street in downtown Kingston. On the regional front, Ghana commissions the first CARICOM-based World Trade Center, positioning itself as a global business hub. And over on the global stage, oil rally fizzles with WTI crude falling to $73 per barrel despite escalating US-Iran tensions. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after this break.
Alphabet down 6, Microsoft down
5. Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMax possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMax Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
Are so much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. Now for the local news in detail. The Jamaica Stock Exchange, JSC, and the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC, have formalized a partnership to support the revitalization of downtown Kingston. The two entities signed a memorandum of understanding MOU earlier today for the adoption and maintenance of a section of Gold Street in the capital city. The signing ceremony took place at the JSC's offices, where His Worship the Mayor of Kingston, Councillor Andrew Swaby, noted that the MOU is a testament to the shared commitment of both organizations to the enhancement and transformation of downtown Kingston.
Today's sign of the memorandum of understanding is a long time in coming because it reflects our shared commitment to improving Kingston, especially downtown. And it's about two key institutions working together, tackling the real challenges through partnership and creating safer and cleaner spaces and supporting downtown revitalization.
The mayor explained how the results of the MOU will impact the vision of both entities.
For the Jamaica Stock Exchange, it helps them the long-standing issue concern they have about parking on Gold Street and upgrading the security of the area. For us, it's about curbing illegal dumping, repurposing neglected areas, and turning these spaces that reflect the pride and order and care. So this initiative directly ties to our Cleaner Kingston initiative. As I've indicated about building partnership and maintaining these spaces across the city. And today is a clear example of that vision in action.
His Worship, the Mayor of Kingston, Councillor Andrew Swaby. Meanwhile, Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange Group, Dr. Marlene Street Forrest, says the move is very strategic in meeting the needs of some customers.
This is also very strategic for us because we have had, as Theo has said, so much complaints from persons. We want to come, but we don't want our cars to be towed. We want to take part in e-campus. The principal is here, but we cannot. We are just afraid. But with this, I'm telling you, the sky's the limit because this is part of 38A. And I don't know if we told you, Mayor, that we are going to have upstairs evenings when we just open this place to the business community and they're going to want parking. So, when we envision and we vision, we know that this is really a good thing that we are doing here today.
She says the partnership between KSAMC and the Stock Exchange has far-reaching implications.
I really want to thank the KSMAC for, listening to us, sharing the idea that downtown must be revitalized. And one way to revitalize downtown is to ensure that there's access. We normally talk about access to capital, but we are going to talk about access to parking. It's important that we do that. And I know our responsibilities under that MOU, and that is to beautify and keep that area in a way that not only the citizens down here will know that we are in accord with our civic responsibility, but everyone else coming.
Managing Director of the JC Group, Dr. Marlene Street Forrest. In the meantime, His Worship Councillor Andrew Swaby has lauded Dr. Marlene Street Forrest as a transformational leader at the helm of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. He noted that the KSAMC is eager to leverage her knowledge and expertise to guide the corporation on key initiatives, including public-private partnerships.
I want to comment on our managing directors soon retiring. And I put that in quote because her leadership has been transformational. And I hope she doesn't believe that you can just go off and just get off just like that. You'll get some rest. But I'm a firm believer that the KSAMC does have some capacity. And capacity in terms of knowledge and capacity in terms of pay. But I'm sure that the KSAMC can call on you and offer some form of advice.
He applauded Dr. Street Forrest for her impactful leadership at the JSC, highlighting how her work has elevated the exchange's reputation both locally and on the global stage.
This memorandum reflects a kind of practical, forward-thinking collaboration that she has championed over the years. She has elevated Jamaica Stock Exchange to a regional and international prominence. And she has worked tirelessly and advocated for transparency. And that is something that anyone who knows me that I've championed also. So I wanted to say to you, the Jamaica Stock Exchange, particularly Dr. Percy, that we are very happy that today we could do the signing before you retired, because I believe it was important to have it done. And we are happy for the guidance you have given to us.
His Worship, the Mayor of Kingston, Councillor Andrew Swaby. In other news, following multiple delays in submitting its consolidated financial statements and a trading suspension on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Edufocal Group, trading as Learn, is reporting a turnaround in its operations. For the first quarter ended March 31, 2025, the company posted an operating profit of $5.61 million, reversing an operating loss of $12.59 million recorded in the same period last year in its unaudited, condensed, consolidated financial statements. Edufocal says this performance is largely attributed to effective cost containment strategies and the streamlining of operations. For the first quarter of 2025, the group generated revenue of $29.97 million, which remained relatively flat compared to the $30.01 million earned in quarter one of the prior year. Meanwhile, the group is reporting a net loss of $1.34 million, which is significantly below the $20.87 million realized in the first quarter of 2024. The reduction in losses was achieved despite finance costs of $6.95 million, which continue to weigh on performance. As at March 31, total assets stood at $235.41 million, an increase from $228.68 million as at March last year. Notably, the team has continued to invest heavily in Amigo, a new initiative designed to drive scalable recurring income through a modernized business model. CEO of Edufocal Gordon Swaby says Amigo is extremely important to their future, and they have invested heavily in its development. Early feedback from potential customers about Amigo has been extremely positive, and they anticipate immediate opportunities to leverage this software beyond Jamaica. Now to foreign currency trading news. At the end of currency trading on Monday, the US dollar is selling for $160.95, the Canadian for $117.30, and the pound sterling for $216.51, while $185.30 is the going rate for the euro. Now to trading news from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 113 stocks traded on the JSE Monday, of which 47 advanced, 46 declined, and 20 traded firm. Iron Rock Insurance Company, Caribbean Cream, Cygnus Credit Investments US dollar, and Margaritaville Turks led today's winners, while the losers were led by the Limners and Bards, ISP Finance Services, Stanley Motor Ordinary Shares, and R.A. Williams Distributors. Now the main index advanced by 1,513.55 points, or 0.49%, to close at 312,804.10. The junior market index also advanced, but by 13.65, or 0.41%, to close at 3,383.85. And it's time for our market education feature, brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. In today's market education feature, we'll be defining the term geographical indication. A geographical indication, GI, is a sign used on products that originate from a specific location and possess qualities, characteristics, or a reputation that are directly linked to that geographic origin. For a designation to qualify as a GI, it must clearly indicate that a product comes from a particular place, and the product's unique features or reputation must stem primarily from that location. This establishes a strong association between the product and the region where it is produced. Notable examples of geographical indications include Jamaican jerk and Jamaica rum, both tied to Jamaica's cultural and culinary heritage. Tequila, which can only be produced in the tequila region of Mexico. Havana, for premium Cuban cigars, and Swiss cheeses and watches, renowned for their origin and quality in Switzerland. The market education feature was brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for market education feature and the end of the local segment. Please stay with us. The regional business news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
I'm trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
I'm also trading stocks to achieve my financial goals.
Start a conversation with the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Check jamstockx.com for information and a list of registered stockbrokers. You can also call the Jamaica Stock Exchange at 876-967-3271 for information on how to begin. I am achieving my financial goals.
I'm achieving my financial goals.
Welcome back, and now for the regional business news. Ghana has taken a major step onto the global business stage with the official commissioning of the World Trade Center, Georgetown, WTCG, the first facility of its kind in the Caribbean Community, CARICOM region. Located on High Street in the country's capital, the WTCG is a modern commercial hub designed to foster cross-border commerce, host trade missions, and accelerate Ghana's economic integration with international markets. President Dr. Irfan Ali led the commissioning ceremony last Friday, hailing the trade center as a landmark development that positions Ghana as a serious global trade player and a magnet for investment.
We are trying to position our country in the globe in a way that is going to be transformative for us and transformative for this region. We are very confident about the outlook of our country, but we are even more confident about the role we can play and we will play in the global economy.
Dr. Ali says Ghana is rapidly becoming a premier destination for high-value investment in ecotourism and aviation.
At a point now where we will be having some of the best and most sophisticated companies in ecotourism, some of the companies with the greatest market access in ecotourism, investing here in Ghana. Our aviation sector is already expanding leaps and bounds. As a matter of fact, in the next 2 years, we'll have one of the most modern aviation sectors by legislation, by regulation, and also by investment. We'll have one of the most modern aviation sectors in the region.
President of Ghana, Dr. Irfan Ali. In a strategic move to strengthen its fiscal position and reduce debt servicing costs, the government of Barbados has announced the final result of its offer to repurchase its outstanding 6.500% notes due 2029. The debt repurchase initiative saw nearly 93% of eligible bonds validly tendered, marking a significant vote of investor confidence and a step toward modernizing the country's debt portfolio. The tender offer, launched on June 13 and expired on June 20, targeted the full remaining principal of the 2029 notes. Following a 10% amortization payment made in April 2025, the outstanding balance stood at US $407.6 million. Of this, US $340.4 million was validly tendered for purchase by investors through the Depository Trust Company. Investors whose bonds were accepted will receive US $900 for every US $1,000 of principal, excluding accrued interest. Payments are scheduled to be made on June 26 this year, contingent on the successful closing of new financing arrangements by the government. The repurchase was conditional on a concurrent new debt issuance in the international capital markets, the proceeds of which will fund the buyback. Although full details of the new notes offering have not been disclosed, the government has made clear the deal must meet pricing and volume terms it finds acceptable. In other news, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued a series of urgent travel advisories for Bahamian citizens, warning against visits to several countries amid rising geopolitical tensions, particularly in the Middle East. In separate advisories released June 21 and 22, the ministry urged citizens to avoid all travel to Iran, Israel, and the occupied Palestinian territories due to escalating military activity. The move follows recent airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities and retaliatory missile exchanges involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. The Iran advisory cites increased risk of military escalation and the possibility of abrupt airport closures. Similar warnings were issued for Gaza, the West Bank, and Jerusalem, with officials urging Bahamians to stay away entirely. Travel to the United States is still allowed, but Bahamians are advised to exercise high degree of caution in cities like Washington, D.C., and remain alert to changing security protocols at U.S. borders. A broader Middle East advisory covers countries such as Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Bahrain, recommending Bahamians avoid all or non-essential travel depending on the destination. Full travel bans are in place for several of these locations due to volatile conditions. The ministry is encouraging travelers to stay informed, register with embassies, and reconsider non-essential trips until tensions ease. Now to trading news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. 20 securities traded on the TTSE Monday, of which 7 advanced, 8 declined, and 5 traded firm. Leading the winners were JMB Group, NCB Financial Group, Unilever Caribbean, and Prestige Holdings. While leading the losers were One Caribbean Media, Guardian Holdings, West Indian Tobacco Company, and Scotiabank TNT. Other results include the All TNT Index declining by 4.41 to close at 1,501.70. The Composite Index advancing by 1.54 to close at 1,035.68. And the Cross-Listed Index advanced by 1.11 to close at 75.18. And still at 91.81 is the SME Index. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment with Rondine Williams is up next.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. And now for the international news. WTI crude oil futures settled around $73 a barrel, giving back earlier gains as fears of major supply disruptions in the Middle East subsided. Although the market initially rallied with prices hitting $74.30, their highest since January, those gains were quickly reversed. The pullback followed a reassessment of risk after U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. While tensions remain high, with Israel stepping up attacks and Iran vowing retaliation, investors saw no immediate impact on physical oil flows. Crude shipments, including those through the vital Strait of Hormuz, remain uninterrupted, and Iranian oil exports have actually risen. The market now awaits Tehran's next move. Continuing with the impact of geopolitical developments, European equity markets closed lower on Monday as caution swept across investor sentiment. The Stoxx 50 dipped 0.2%, while the Stoxx 600 lost 0.3%. Shares of insurance and defense companies bore the brunt. AXA, Muniri, and Rank Group each posted sharp losses, while energy and travel stocks pulled back on fears of Middle East-related disruptions. Despite this, Germany's flash PMI data offered some optimism, with private sector activity returning to growth for the first time since April. In the UK, a modest uptick in composite PMI to 50.7 also hinted at improving conditions in both manufacturing and services. Now turning to the Americas, where economic indicators present a mixed picture of the region's two largest economies. In the United States, existing home sales ticked up by 0.8% in May to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.03 million units, outpacing expectations after a decline in April. Gains were recorded in the Northeast, Midwest, and South, while the West saw a decline of 5.4%. The median home prices climbed to $422,800, underscoring the market's ongoing resilience despite high mortgage rates. According to the National Association of Realtors, NAR Chief Economist Lawrence Yun, lower interest rates will further unlock market participation and contribute to economic momentum. Meanwhile, Mexico's economy showed signs of cooling in April 2025. Retail sales dropped 2% year-over-year, with weakened concentration in essentials like groceries, hardware, and fuel. Yet, there were bright spots. Online sales surged 25.2%, and categories such as household items and footwear saw gains. At the broader level, economic activity contracted 1.5% year-on-year, reversing a 2.5% gain in March. Despite sharp declines in wholesale trade, mining, and construction, the services sector provided some cushion, with business support, waste management, and cultural services registering solid growth. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. But please do stay with us. The news recap is coming up on the other side of this break.
Welcome back, and now to recap our top stories. JSC and KCMC signed MOU to support the adoption and maintenance of sections of Gold Street. Regionally, Ghana commissions the first CARICOM-based World Trade Center. And on the international scene, WTI crude falls to $73 per barrel despite escalating US-Iran tensions. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Rondine Williams and the entire production team, I'm Unil Wood. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.